Hi, my name is Maddie and I've been coming up to Tomahawk Lake my whole life. My grandparents built their house about 40 years ago and my parents built the house next door about 10 years ago. My whole family comes up here. We love this lake. I heard about this invasive plant called Eurasian water milfoil, and the property owners on this lake have come together to try to get rid of it. They're working on it every day and I'm really anxious to see how it works. Let's go.
My name is Jonathan Pierce. I went to my undergraduate at Stevens Point, a degree in fisheries and biology. I just finished my master's at Northern Michigan, a degree in biology with a focus in fisheries genetics, and moving on to a PhD up in Newfoundland, also working on Atlantic salmon population genetics.
How long have you been doing this?
This is my second season. I did this 3 years ago, and we have a family cabin in Potawatomi Colony on the west shore of the lake. So I grew up with summers on this lake, and it's enjoyable being underwater.
My name is Chris Bauer. I did my undergraduate at UW Stevens Point. I got a double major in zoology and biology with a minor in GIS. I'm originally from West Bend.
So what is Eurasian water milfoil and why is it bad for our lake?
So, Eurasian water milfoil is an invasive plant species. It's often confused by northern. So on my right here, this is Eurasian water milfoil. This is our target species. A little bit redder stem, much finer, small leaflets, and from the top, the very tips always look slightly red from underwater. The native plant, northern milfoil, is one that's often confused, but as you can tell, the difference, this is much greener, and it doesn't have nearly as many leaflets along its stem. So what happens with Eurasian water milfoil is that it will choke out the native species. So the stands become so dense that no other species can interact with that spot. So we'll get into a really thick patch and it'll be a monotypic, solid patch of milfoil. And you go in there and all you see is just stems like this, and we're always targeting the roots of the Eurasian water milfoil. So we try to pull those root balls out and try to really stop them from coming back in the spot that we harvested.
So how does this stuff spread so quickly?
It spreads through a variety of ways. One way is just simply the plant's in the water column. When it gets large enough, it will kind of fall down like this, and this will start to grow roots. And then eventually it'll break off, and then from where those roots, a new plant will grow. The other way, which is a little bit harder to control, is the fragmentation. So as these plants become higher and later on in summer, they're maturing, what happens is from the top you'll start growing these little white roots. And then they'll just simply pop off, and they'll float with the water, maybe float down, and start a new plant. Every segment that breaks off can start a new plant. And these can travel long distances, or they could just drop down. And what happens is, if this was floating into a boat launch, and then you have this mass of weeds sitting there, and someone backs their trailer in, that gets tangled up in the boat trailer and get transported to the other lakes. That's really the main factor in the way that this is spreading from lake to lake.
So why is this important in managing Eurasian water milfoil?
This particular system is one of a kind, and it is unique in the ability to be able to go around to high traffic areas such as this one with the rope swing and suck up all the Eurasian milfoil that's in the area. And this is important because once the Eurasian gets to a certain point, growth, which will actually reach the surface and spread out across it, boats and motors will come in and chop the plant material up and spread it. And when that fragments, each little piece that you see coming off, and it's different for each size, will create another plant. So in theory, one plant and going through one motor could create 50 plants. And with this, we're able to suck up that one plant or the plants that would cause this issue and remove them. In this area, boat launches, bars and restaurants that are on the lake are target areas, as well as any other high traffic fishing areas, which we've targeted this year as well.
You've been doing this for 2 years. How successful is this process?
I think the chemical is where you're really going to cut down on the bulk of it in the springtime. this process is what's going to maintain that state, and by targeting those high traffic areas, you're not going to have the fragmentation rate that you would if you only did chemicals. This is key in hitting those areas. And I dove 3 years ago on here, and some spots that we dove, I've rechecked this year, and they're fairly clean. They're not that bad, a few sparse plants. Other stands are going to come back. It really is dependent on the site, and there's always the chance if it's got infested once, it will continually happen. So over the past 3 years, there's definitely was a chance for fragments to come there. So I think it's key in really targeting those areas and controlling the spread of it, because if you let those plants grow up and fragment, it's going to be a never-ending battle.
So after the weeds get sucked up from the lake, what happens to them?
So after Chris picks them, they'll come up top and they'll go into the first filtration stage. And this has larger mesh and just catches the bulk of the larger plant material. Any smaller pieces, if we're worried about fragmentation, will come down and it drains towards the front, hits the second screen right here, and will catch the much finer particles. And then every once in a while we got to clean the screen off and in order for it not to overflow. But after this main bulk comes up, we take the plants out of here, we'll let them sit over there for a while, drain up as it's constantly filling up, and then we'll come over and we'll bag them. And we'll just simply, once they're dry, put them in there. We wait till the bag's almost too full to carry, and then we'll put them in the back of the boat and just kind of stack them. And on a really good day, like peak day, the best day ever, might catch 20 to 24 bags. And right now we're pulling right around 10 bags. Early in the season, the plants aren't that big.
What's your favorite thing about this job?
I like the fact that I'm on Lake Tomahawk up here in the North Woods, and I don't usually always get to get up here, so it's been a while. I get to hang out with a bunch of other people that are up here doing work around the area, and sitting on the lake and then diving down and seeing all the different fish species and having fishermen come up and ask me, where are the fish?
Yeah. Yeah, that's some of the biggest questions is we'll have fishermen kind of troll by and ask where the muskies are, where the smallmouth are, and we help them out every once in a while, but we like to keep a few of those fish secrets to ourselves. So, other than that, diving through the plants is just really enjoyable. It's actually really pretty down there, and there's always little fish swimming around and little invertebrates, and watching a whole different community that you're not exposed to when you're on top of the lake.
Today I learned that Eurasian water milfoil is a nasty plant that spreads quickly, and that there are many things that we need to do to stop it. I think it's pretty cool that this community cares enough to keep this lake beautiful for generations and generations to come.